I've always been drawn to the strange and unusual, and that's why when I stumbled upon a peculiar listing on Craigslist, I couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. Little did I know that this seemingly innocent purchase would lead me into a chilling and horrifying nightmare. The listing that caught my eye was titled "Vintage Doll with a History." It described an antique doll, its porcelain face painted with a melancholy expression, and its Victorian-style dress worn and faded with time. The seller, identified only as M, claimed that the doll had been in their family for generations and was now looking for a new home. What piqued my curiosity was the inexplicably low price. For such an old and unique item, the doll was practically a steal. With an eager sense of adventure, I reached out to M and we arranged to meet at their home. I arrived at M's house on a gloomy, overcast afternoon. The place had an eerie aura, its overgrown garden and faded paint giving it a forlorn appearance. I hesitated at the doorstep, but my desire to possess a piece of history overrode my apprehension, and I rang the doorbell. M, a middle-aged woman with piercing blue eyes, greeted me with a warm smile. She explained that the doll had been passed down through her family for generations, but that it was time to part with it. She spoke of the doll's charm and history, and as she did, her eyes sparkled with an unsettling intensity. M led me into a dimly lit room that felt like a relic from another era. The walls were adorned with old photographs, and the air smelled musty, as if it hadn't been disturbed in years. In the center of the room, on a dusty display stand, sat the doll. The doll was exactly as described. Its porcelain face bore a somber expression, and its dress was a faded testament to days long past. There was something undeniably captivating about it, and I couldn't resist the urge to bring it home. As I handed M the money, she whispered, "Take good care of her. She has a way of finding her way back if she's not happy." I brushed off her words as superstition and left with the doll, my curiosity outweighing any sense of unease. That night, I placed the doll on a shelf in my bedroom, where it watched over me with its unblinking porcelain eyes. Its presence felt eerie, but I chalked it up to my overactive imagination. But as the days passed, strange things began to happen. I would wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of faint, ghostly giggles, as if a child were playing in the room. I would find objects moved or missing, only to discover them later in places I knew I hadn't put them. The doll's expression seemed to change, its painted lips curling into a sinister grin when I glanced at it. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching me, that it had a life of its own. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard the unmistakable sound of porcelain footsteps on the wooden floor. My heart raced as I turned on the light to find the doll standing at the edge of my bed, its lifeless eyes staring directly into mine. I couldn't explain it. How had the doll moved? It was as if it had a mind of its own. Panic set in as I grabbed the doll and locked it in a drawer, convinced that I was losing my sanity. But that was only the beginning. The doll's presence continued to haunt me, even when locked away. I would hear it scratching at the inside of the drawer, its faint laughter echoing in the darkness. I began to lose sleep, my fear consuming me. One night I decided I had had enough. I took the doll and drove out to a remote forest, determined to rid myself of this malevolent presence. I buried it deep in the earth, hoping that it would never find its way back to me. For a while, I thought I was free of the doll's haunting presence. But then one day, as I was cleaning the attic, I stumbled upon a box filled with old family photographs. Among them was a picture of my great-grandmother, holding the very same doll. My blood ran cold as I realized the truth. The doll had been in my family for generations, and it had found its way back to me, just as M had warned. The curse of the haunted doll was a part of my family's history, and now it was a part of mine. I've tried everything to rid myself of the doll, but it always returns, finding its way back to me no matter where I hide it. Its presence continues to torment me, a constant reminder that some things should never be bought, no matter how intriguing or alluring they may seem. As I write this, I can hear the faint sound of porcelain footsteps approaching. The doll is here, in my room, watching me with those unblinking eyes, and I know that I can never escape its malevolent grasp.